Hey Dunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and it is time for my review of the debut album from REZZ. This one is called Mass Manipulation. REZZ is a Ukrainian-American DJ and producer with a very underground sound that went mainstream in early 2016 thanks to the team over at deadmau5's Mousetrap label. She's also one of the most requested artists I've ever had to cover on my channel. I got a number of requests to cover both of her last two EPs that she's done, and you know, I kept putting it off saying, yeah, I'm going to cover REZZ as soon as she comes out with another EP or a full-length album or something like that, not really knowing that she had a full-length album in store for summer 2017, so I was really unprepared when this album dropped to cover it. Now, I didn't really want to cover REZZ for two main reasons, one of those being that simply her sound is so underground that people don't really know what to call it, and I get very uncomfortable when people can't be put into boxes and genres. Everyone's either calling her techno or electronica, and good God, I hate both of those terms because they're so unspecific. And the other main reason being, well, I really love Mousetrap as a label. I've loved a lot of the artists that have kind of come out of their vein, No Mana being a big one, but REZZ is an artist that I really just haven't been able to get into, and I haven't totally figured it out why, but it's probably because I listen to her music and all of it to me just sounds like and that particular signature sound that she had at the time kind of pushed me away from listening to her music, at least up until the point where she released her collaboration with Kid, Fourth Impact, which I actually found a lot of enjoyment in. That being one of REZZ's more recent singles, I was actually very excited when she announced Mass Manipulation to see what she'd kind of throw together for her debut album. And you know, I have to say it, this album ain't half bad. The album most definitely falls under the theme of hypnosis, a concept that's introduced in the intro of the album, Relax. And this song is a little bit ironic because the man in the vocal sample is telling listeners that the best part of hypnosis is the pure and utter state of relaxation, yet the drops in the song make me want to do the absolute opposite of relax. Especially with those really squeaky, kind of rubbery sounding 16ths during the second drop layered over the lead synth just wants to make me go absolutely crazy. But like I was saying, this album does do a very good job of kind of centering around that theme of manipulation and hypnosis. It's got a lot of very trippy textures to it, to the point where it almost feels like a drug-free acid trip. In Mass Manipulation, REZZ takes that very underground sound that she's really made hers and kind of combines it with inspiration from a number of different places, but primarily in the retro, coming from 80s and 90s sci-fi flicks and video games. For one, you've got those very 80s electronic tom drums that are scattered all over this album, kind of in a similar way to how Porter Robinson used them on his Worlds album. The third single from the album, Premonition, even almost sounds like it could have been directly ripped from a chase scene in one of those movies. The melody in the intro of the song Drugs sounds like it could fit very snug in with like some of the old school Metroid soundtracks, and the list goes on, but I will say Drugs was one of my favorite songs on the album, and I'll admit it's probably because it kind of has a very dubstep-y sound to it, kind of with that two-step beat and the growls during the drop. But I'm going to go ahead and say that the thing that probably turned me on to this album the most was REZZ being able to really expand into other territories than where she's been really comfortable with those last few EPs. REZZ tries out a kind of Moombaton sounding beat on Diluted Brains, which I thought really paid off. That beat could have been circa Dylan Francis, who's also a very close friend of deadmau5's. On the album's final track, Ascension, which I'll note to be by far my favorite song on the album, REZZ even experiments with future bass a little, which I didn't really see coming when I heard this for the first time. Now, I definitely didn't expect to see REZZ doing a collaboration with Kotek for this album, being that I had only heard of them prior due to the fact that they had won a couple different remix competitions on Splice, one of those being a Monstercat release with Nervo's Anywhere You Go. But this song ends up being a huge hybrid of sounds, kind of tossing back and forth between melodic portions and more experimental portions. The melodic parts of the song to me were very Porter Robinson-esque, meanwhile the rest of the track to me, for whatever reason, is giving me like huge Justice Cross vibes. And that very well might be just because the song kind of hops and skips around like one of the French house songs on Cross would have, but in this case, no matter, I really just like this song. It's very good. Kind of ends the album off on a weird tone just because it has a little bit of that extended mix sound toward the end of it, which doesn't serve as a very great outro, but regardless, I thought this was a really good song. On the other hand, I definitely do have some picks when it comes to this album, some more major than others. The biggest one of them being the song Livid, which I have absolutely no problem if you guys like this song, because I typically do like to get more into the experimental songs on albums like this myself, but at least to me, I just could not get into this song at all. It kind of sounds like REZZ just threw a bunch of different sounds into a blender and then kind of smashed the blend button, and then this song is what came out. I just don't really understand its placement on the album. It seems definitely like an outcast compared to the rest of them, which had clear inspirations drawing from different places. The other song I kind of had picks with and couldn't really get into was Green Gusher, which is kind of a VIP version of Purple Gusher, with the original of that one being one of REZZ's all-time most popular songs, coming off of the Something Wrong Here EP. I kind of expected something like this to resurface on to the Mass Manipulation album, but I really think this song was poorly executed. While I do think one of the more unique aspects about Purple Gusher back on that EP was its use of DJ scratching kind of all over the track, kind of bringing that to the front and accentuating it on Green Gusher, I really didn't think kind of lifted the song up in any way. That being said, I really do think the only particularly bad song on this album is Livid, and once again, that's only my opinion. You guys can be free to like all of the songs in this album as much as you want, but at least that one was the one I just can't get into for any reason at all. Overall though, I'd have to say that Mass Manipulation was a very good album and definitely one that surprised me a lot. I would not have considered myself a fan of REZZ like 6 months ago or even maybe 3 months ago, but since the release of this album, I've been a lot more excited for her music, and I'm really excited to see what direction she's going to go in next. And if this debut album is any telltale sign, I think REZZ is going to keep surprising us for years to come. For Mass Manipulation, I am feeling a strong 7 to a light 7.5 out of 10. What did you guys think about the album? If you haven't listened to it yet, I have it down in the description below, so you can check it out on Spotify or do whatever you wish. And if you did love the album, or if you hated the album, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Anyway, I'm Landon Remixes. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you later. Peace.